Stefon Diggs was at OTAs today in New England, which was a big story for multiple reasons. Remember, Stefon Diggs missed a couple of OTAs at the beginning of last season for the Texans, and it was no big deal. Guy was getting used to his new environment. He'd been traded, whatever. The problem is that this happened to coincide, his absence last week, with
giving the women he speaks.
Story of let me turn this off. Let me turn the music down on this a little bit. Diggs on a boat with 3 very interested women who I thought, like, oh, hey, this NFL, boy, being an NFL player, you're really living the life, huh? They all love you, especially when you've got a baggie full of pink stuff that they seem super interested in getting. And it was let's call it a bad look or a curious look from a player that has just signed to a new team. And it created all kinds of speculation about just what exactly is going on with Stefon Diggs. He's coming off an ACL, so you didn't necessarily anticipate him being a full participant in OTAs. I did not expect this, though. When Scott Zolak, who was a quarterback for the Patriots back in the day, and now does color commentary for the Patriots and does sports radio. We'll show a clip here in just a second. When he posted this on Friday or said this on Friday, this was a big shock.
You think Diggs should be cut?
Do I think he should be cut?
Yeah,
no,
you.
I don't.
I do not.
I came to this show yesterday with the opinion, not opinion, but the knowledge of that it is on the tape, that it is being thought of. And it's not just the boat. It's not just the boat. There's some other things that I've heard. That's all. That puts some things in question. Are you all in? Are you all in here? The videos look great of him working out. I've touted the videos. I know you need diva receivers. I say he shouldn't be cut because I think he would help Drake May in this offense.
Yes, he would help Drake May in that offense. And he does set coverage. I know they signed Mac Hollins, who we'll get to in a little bit, but Mac Hollins isn't a guy that's a straw that stirs the drink. And when Mike Florio asked this question this morning, I actually got a little bit peeved, not on behalf of Stefon Diggs, but on behalf of the Houston Texans, because he asked this very basic question.
Basic question. Why are they signing him?
Yeah. And he went on to recite the litany of various things that Stefon Diggs has done in the past. Oh, he forced his way out of Minnesota. He forced his way out of Buffalo. And then he paused, and then he just skipped right over the Texans. The reason the Patriots signed Stefon Diggs is because, they have a young quarterback who could sure use an electrifyingly athletic and experienced and savvy veteran who can be an option for him, not just reliably, but especially when pass protection breaks down, when you need to get your quick game going. I mean, just watch. This is vertical. I apologize, but I did this last season. C.J. Stroud, strictly when he was under pressure, throwing the ball to Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs probably doesn't get enough credit, as much credit as he deserves for some of the things he did last year in that offense, which was otherwise struggling. He was the guy that kept C.J. Stroud from being the most sacked quarterback in the league at times because he had a place to go with the ball. And he was on pace for over 1,000 yards. It wasn't going to be the best Stefon Diggs season ever, but he did some really, really good things for C.J. Stroud. The other part about it was, and I guess maybe this would be a surprise to people outside of Houston, was that he was the consummate professional the entire time. The entire time he was here, from when he did eventually show up at OTAs, he was out there working with Tank Dell, working with Nico Collins. He was a mentor. When things were tough, as they often were for that offense early in the season, Stefon Diggs was the first guy to tell everybody to keep your head level, keep focused, don't be distracted, all of that. Like, he did everything that you would have wanted out of a veteran wide receiver. So when the Patriots, who still have some common ties with even though, people have changed over the years and everything, they've still got some common ties with the Texans. I'm guessing that when people from the Patriots ask people from the Texans, what was your experience like with Stefon Diggs? They probably had nothing but positive things to say about it. So that part of it makes sense. I totally understand why the Patriots would have signed him. But here's the rub, and this is what I'd be worried about if I were a Patriots fan, is that Diggs was on, for all intents and purposes, a one-year contract. When the Texans traded for Diggs, he still had multiple years, et cetera, et cetera. They redid his deal and basically structured it so it was going to be a one-year deal. And a lot of people were critical of Caserio at the time for doing that. I understood it as, this is the way I took it, that they know that Diggs can get agitated or that Diggs can get kind of squirrely for whatever reason, and that he'd probably want a new contract at the end of that year anyway. So they said, hey, we'll just cut off any of the drama. We're going to make this a one-year deal. And maybe what you end up getting out of Diggs, who, by the way, was, people loved him in Buffalo the first couple of years. It was nothing but smooth sailing for Stefon Diggs and Josh Allen. It was when things got contentious that it was an issue. And for guys like Stefon Diggs, when they get to be a 32-year-old wide receiver, things can tend to get contentious. So what you do is you have Diggs basically in a contract year and on his absolute best behavior. And the Texans finally, blessedly, may have finally screwed the Patriots over. I've spent enough time getting screwed over by various things that Bill O'Brien or anybody else tried to copy from the Patriots or import from the Patriots. Various running backs that became the go-to running backs despite possibly not even being as good as a third-string running back anymore, and so forth. That I feel like the Texans have finally, they finally stuck it to the Patriots, unless he obviously shows up and works out. The part about them potentially cutting him, I think it's very, very unlikely, just because, for one, to actually try to cut them over a non-distinct pink powder in a bag, good luck finding people that are going to testify as to exactly what that was or anything. Plus, the CBA, when it comes to recreational drugs, is a lot more lax than it used to be. Two, you can't fine them for missing voluntary. You can't cut them for missing voluntary minicamp. It would get really, really dicey. Three, I don't think they actually want to cut him. If Zolak says that it's on the table, I wonder if, Vrabel, in trying to establish a culture, doesn't want to go too far down one path. But right now, it's Mack Hollins and Stefon Diggs. And I love Mack Hollins, mostly just because he's so damn colorful. And I mean that literally. The Mack Hollins, for those of you who don't know, these are his game day outfits, a collection of the various mad scientist there, an actual Buffalo Bison in that regard. It looks like he avoids carbs, some kind of a Flintstone character, perhaps. I don't know exactly what that is. He's a colorful character. He's not a great wide receiver, but he can be good in a complementary role to somebody like Stefon Diggs. So I don't think there's a chance in hell that they cut him, and it could be a colorful wide receiver room if they don't. And mostly, first and foremost, I think that Diggs did for CJ Stroud exactly what they were hoping for. He just couldn't stay healthy. That's where he broke down. That's the other part of it, too, is he does turn 32 this year. 32 is that magical number for wide receivers where very few guys extend on after age 32 producing the same way they did before. So I think Diggs is going to be on that team this year, but especially coming off of an ACL, I'm skeptical that he's ever going to be the same version of the guy that he was before, but he could still be an asset for Mack Hollins. So listen, you can bookmark this, and you can either come back a few months from now and say, Seth, I told you so, you're all wrong. Or you can come back and say, if you're a Patriots fan, oh, I'm sorry. Geez, Seth, you were right. You guys really did screw us. You really did screw us. Ezekiel, you're not an NFL wide receiver. You're going to do just fine. If you're any normal profession, then you've got your best years ahead of you. You're just now learning how to operate in this world. I can tell you from experience. I used to think when people used to tell me this, I thought it was the complete and ultimate BS. I remember my uncle telling me when he was in his 60s, he's like, I got to tell you what, man, your 40s and 50s, that's where it's at. You still got your health, but you've learned so many things. And I could not endorse it any more fully right now. I used to think that was just people saying it just to make themselves feel better. And I would nod my head and be like, sure, yeah, I bet it's awesome being 45. No, hopefully if you do some work on yourself, by the time you're 45 or so, a lot of the things that you're either less confident about or you're not quite sure about, you've kind of squashed some of those, and you can just go live your life out. So your best years are ahead of you, Ezekiel. For some reason, I always thought Ezekiel was older, and I don't know why, just because he spells his name differently than the typical Ezekiel. Didn't they sign Diggs to a multi-year contract? Yeah. But that, okay. So here's the thing. Okay, thank you for bringing that up. For them to cut him, he still has to pass a physical. So if he doesn't pass that physical, then they could theoretically cut him because he didn't pass the physical, and they would get back a lot of the guaranteed money. The problem with that is that it gets really dicey when you sign a guy who's recovering from an ACL and you try to say that he didn't pass a physical when in the meantime, you could make a case that, like, wait a second, you guys want to cut me because of the pink powder, you want to cut me because of this, that, either that, or just the general behavior. And that boat party looked like a good, clean, fun boat party. There was no old Minnesota Vikings love boat stuff going on there. That was just all consensual, not being paid for adults, I would think. Love Diggs during his time here, but I feel like him signing to a place like New England was going to eventually lead to him falling into some vices. Yeah, we'll see. That was my suggestion too, is that it was just pink pop rocks. He had a pocket full of stones. That's what he learned from his time in Houston. All right, thanks everybody. This will be fun.